stories about what happened.
It's true. All of it.
Hey guys, Brian from the Star Wars Canon Library here, and you heard the man that were stories, and they're all true. Hey, this is going to be the monthly comic review video for the page for the month of January, and actually January, kind of February-ish. Darth Maul issue number 1 came out this past Wednesday, so technically it was a February issue, but that means next month is only going to be 2 comics. This month we've got Dr. Aphra number 4 coming out, and Poe Dameron number 11, but as for the comics that came out in January, I just picked them up on Thursday. Decided I'd do one bulk video each month for all the comics that came out. So this past month, and plus the one from this week, we have 5 comics that came out, which is actually very unheard of to have that many come out, especially since this month we only had 3 coming out. Guys, let's just jump right into this. The first comic I'm going to be reviewing that we just got recently is going to be Star Wars issue number 27. What they're doing right now in the Star Wars comics is along the same lines as what they did for issues 7, 15, and 20, I think is what it was, where we got like a little Obi-Wan trilogy in the middle of this of the ongoing series, where we revert back to a story from the past that Luke is reading in the journals. And these, right now, this is the second issue focusing around this Yoda-centric story, which I've really enjoyed so far. Now, a lot of people were kind of confused when they started reading this because Luke had never heard of Yoda before, but he's reading this story in the journal, but it never says that it is Yoda. Obi-Wan just says it's a great Jedi Master, and the story is at first I thought it was kind of slow. The first issue with the first of the story arcs of Yoda. It was all right. There was a neat little cameo with Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon in it. But then Yoda crash lands on this planet, or not crash lands. He lands on this planet that's inhabited by children, and kind of had this like Lost Boys kind of theme to it, like the Peter Pan Lost Boys. But so far, the story's not bad up to this issue so far. The second issue of it isn't bad at all. You start to see a side of Yoda, not really a side of Yoda, but it focuses more on the side of Yoda of him being compassionate and learning new things still, even though he's almost 900 years old. Now, these stories do take place pre-Phantom Menace. The story of this particular arc of Yoda does happen pre-Phantom Menace. So you kind of see what Yoda was up to before Episode 1. But so far it's been a good story. I really can't talk a whole lot about the second issue of the Yoda arc unless I talk about the next issue of Star Wars that we got, issue 28, which continues the story arc with Yoda, of Luke reading the journals, seeing this mission, this situation that Yoda finds himself in, with the same characters. I'm not going to give any spoilers for it, but this is a really neat comic. So far, the Star Wars series for me started off good, and then it got a little watered down. It was right after Luke had his confrontation with Boba Fett. I thought the Star Wars story kind of got watered down a little bit, and then they started doing this new arc, or the last book. It was The Last Flight of the Harbinger, where they stole the Star Destroyer. I mean, I loved that story. It was great. And then since then, this story has picked back up and has taken off. And especially with these little side stories they're doing, going back in time, telling these stories of characters that happened before the movies even. Now making Phantom Menace no longer the official start to the canon timeline. We're going to get to another comic here in a minute that actually happens before Phantom Menace, but I'm not entirely sure when this Yoda story takes place in reference to Phantom Menace. It can't be that long before Phantom Menace, just because of the fact when we see Obi-Wan, he's still Qui-Gon's Padawan. He looks about the same age as he was in Phantom Menace, so it had to have been immediately right before that. But anyway, the Star Wars comics, man, they're great. I've really enjoyed the Star Wars title so far. except for that kind of slow period in between the showdown on Smuggler's Moon when Luke went to Nar Shaddaa. Yeah, it was all right. But it's starting to pick back up. It's getting really good. So the Star Wars comic, guys, it's one of my favorite. This is the one that's going to be going on forever at this point. So what I want to see is them keep doing these kind of one-off stories off to the side, away from the main story that's going on. And they've touched on Old Republic and Dr. Aphra so far. Yeah, I mean, they could go anywhere in the Star Wars comic, and I'm hoping they do. I hope they start touching on other time periods that we've never seen before. So anyway, for issues 27 and 28, I believe it was, for Star Wars, excellent issues, guys. Make sure to go pick those up. They're really, really good. The next one, let's see, where am I at here? All right, I mentioned Dr. Aphra, and we're going to be going into Dr. Aphra number 3. Dr. Aphra was a character from the Darth Vader comics. She was kind of Darth Vader's, I don't want to say right-hand man. He was kind of using her. But spoiler for those of you who have not read Darth Vader, he thinks he thinks she's dead at the end of that comic. He thinks he murdered her and she ended up getting away from Vader. One of the very few who ever survived the Wrath of Vader, and was able to go on and live the rest of her days out so far. Now this comic so far has had a very Indiana Jones-esque feel to it. She's essentially a rogue Indiana Jones in the Star Wars universe. She's got the Wookiee bounty hunter. I can never pronounce his name because it's spelled so weird. If somebody can tell me how to pronounce it, I'd really appreciate it. And then she's got the droids BT and 000 with her, which were honestly the highlights of the Vader, some of the highlights of the Vader comic, in my opinion. They're essentially murderous, evil versions of R2 and 3PO, and I love them. They're great. Now, this comic, at this point, Aphra and her father are on Yavin 4. It's occupied by the Empire after the events of A New Hope, and she's trying to follow her father on this mission that this archaeological mission that he's essentially blackmailing her into going on. But it's a great comic so far. I'm in love with it. It's supposed to be an ongoing series. Hopefully it goes on for quite a while. Canon was supposed to be an ongoing series. It stopped at 12 issues about a year in for the Poe Dameron comic to get picked up. So hopefully Aphra goes on for a while. Vader was supposed to be an ongoing series. They stopped it at issue 25. So we'll see how long Aphra is going to go on until people either lose interest or they decide to wrap the story up, or they think of a better idea for a comic later on. But so far, Aphra is really good, especially if you're like a fan of Indiana Jones and you still love Star Wars. This would be a good one to pick up. I'm really enjoying it so far. So that's Aphra number 3. Aphra 4 comes out. What day does Aphra 4 come out? It comes out on the 8th. February 8th. So you guys still have some time to go pick up the earlier issues, get through them before issue number 4 comes out. All right, the next one is, why is this not working? Here we go. Poe Dameron number 10. Now, the Poe Dameron series is following, obviously, Poe Dameron. In the days before The Force Awakens, he's actually on his mission right now to find Lor San Tekka, whom we saw at the beginning of The Force Awakens. And this comic so far, the first few issues I didn't care for that much, but the further it went, the better it got. And right now, it's really, really good. Even in the last issue, there was one part that I found very humorous. It kind of tied into The Force Awakens quite a bit, especially with 3PO. Now, one thing you learn in this comic is that 3PO has his own operation going for the Resistance. He has droid spies everywhere, and he's essentially in charge of them. In the last issue, you find out 3PO was the reason Kanji Club and the Guavian Death Gang found out Han borrowed money from both, and I laughed my butt off when I saw that scene. I loved it. But so far, this comic is really good. It stays true to who Poe Dameron is, especially his team and his crew. There's a character in it named Terex, Agent Terex, First Order Security Bureau, former Security Bureau member, who was at the Battle of Jakku, which they've touched on very little in this comic so far, in like a flashback, which I think we're going to get the official story of the Battle of Jakku in Empire's End. The last Aftermath book comes out here in a couple weeks. But this Agent Terex is a great antagonist for Poe and his crew, and especially now that they're starting to drop hints of, Phasma and Kylo Ren and General Hux has been mentioned in this comic so far. So Poe Dameron is a good one. You guys are really going to enjoy it if you pick it up. If you really like The Force Awakens, I'm really enjoying it so far. It's up 10 issues so far. I cannot believe this comic's been coming out for almost a year already. So guys, Poe Dameron number 10, great addition to the story. Definitely go pick that one up. And then the last one I'm going to review is actually one I wanted to save the best for last, because I've been waiting forever for this comic to come out. We're finally getting it. We have Darth Maul issue number 1. It just came out this past week. This comic takes place pre-Phantom Menace. I'm not entirely sure how far. I'm wanting to say about a year before Phantom Menace. We really see a lot of how Darth Maul and Darth Sidious kind of interact, a lot of their relationship and the apprenticeship, the way Sidious treats Maul. Obviously we've gotten a lot more Darth Maul in Clone Wars and in Rebels, and even in Son of Dathomir. And you realize how short of a leash Palpatine tries to keep on Maul. And, there's a scene in this where he's fighting the Rathtars, which, it was all right. He was on the same planet, that Han and Chewie went to get the Rathtars. But when you're reading this, you can really hear Sam Witwer's voice while you're reading the dialogue. And it's great the way he's written. Darth Maul's written perfectly. Especially there's a part in the comic that doesn't really have a lot to do with the story that's going on. But he's toying with a couple of Jedi. They sense the rage and the coldness and the fear, and they go to track it down, and he's nowhere to be seen. And Palpatine even kind of admonishes him because of it, puts him in his place a little bit. Essentially tells him, if you ruin my plans, I will kill you. I will destroy you. Guys, Darth Maul's a good one. It's going to be a 5-issue run. I'm kind of curious to see where it goes. I guess he's going to be hunting pirates in this series. So, guys, Darth Maul issue number 1 for the first issue on this one is great. I love it. I'm really wanting to know what the next 5-issue run is going to be already, though. Because me and Kirsty were talking the other night, and I was like, Han got his own 5-issue run. Leia got a 5-issue run. 3PO got his own comic. Chewie had a 5-issue run. Lando had a 5-issue run. Obi-Wan and Anakin was a 5-issue run. And out of all of the classic characters, though, the only one we haven't seen get their own comic so far is Luke. And I feel like they're saving him until after Episode 8 comes out, until The Last Jedi comes out. So, I don't know. I really want to see a 5-issue run of Luke Skywalker. Now, granted, he does have Heir to the Jedi and Weapon of a Jedi novels that focus specifically around him. But Heir to the Jedi sucked, in my opinion, and Weapon of a Jedi was too short. So we need some more Luke. I'm hoping they give him a 5-issue run here before long. This Darth Maul series, with it being a 5 issues, could run into, let's see, we're in February now. It could run into June or July. By then we'll obviously have a trailer to Episode 8, and we'll be, 4 or 5 months out from The Last Jedi. So we'll probably get another 5-issue run in between Maul and Luke, if they end up, if I'm right and they're going to do a Luke 5-issue run and it's after The Last Jedi comes out, we'll probably get another 5-issue run of somebody in between. But I don't know what it's going to be yet. Hopefully so far it's all been decently good. 3PO didn't need his own comic. I really didn't care for that one that much. Chewie, I could have done without the comic of Chewie. But other than that, the comics have been, and the Leia. Leia needed a 5-issue run, but I didn't think it was that great. So, guys, those are my reviews of these comics that came out in the last month. All of them were really good. I really enjoyed every last one of them. Comment below, guys. If you've read these comics, what did you think? Please kind of stay away from the spoilers. There's nothing really spoilery in these comics, but for the people who want to read them and haven't got a chance to yet, don't ruin anything for them. Let us know what you thought of the comics, and if you think we're going to get another 5-issue run between, Maul and The Last Jedi, who do you think it's going to be? Who do you want it to be? Who do you want a comic series of? Post your comments below. Let me know. Make sure to hit that subscribe button if you guys like this video. Give it a thumbs up. Also, make sure to visit us at www.starwarscanonlibrary.com. I've got the official timeline there. I've got all the cover art for everything so far. I've got There's even a contact page on there if you guys want to email us. And if you don't want to do it from the website, you can also email us at StarWarsCanonLibrary@gmail.com. And make sure to visit us on Facebook at facebook.com/StarWarsCanonLibrary. Make sure to give us a like there. I'm trying to stay up on there. So, guys, until next time, this is Brian signing off, and may the Force be with you.